We'll give a couple more minutes to give people an opportunity to get logged in for tonight's program. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. So again, good evening. First, let me thank you for taking a little time out of your evening to join us to talk about the Clarity Program. My name is Damon Talley. I'm the Operations Director of Treatment Facilities, oversee all treatment operations with MSD at our water quality treatment centers. So we'd like to welcome you to our live stream community meeting where we look forward to walking you through MSD's odor control efforts in your community. But before we begin, we're going to give you a little bit of background about MSD and what we do.
MSD, ensuring safe, clean waterways for Louisville and the surrounding region. MSD does more than you might realize to protect the health and safety of our communities, and the work is really quite extraordinary. It is our mission to provide quality wastewater, stormwater, and flood protection services to protect public health and safety. Let's talk about MSD's 3 key services. First up, wastewater treatment. This is the water we send down the drain from sinks, showers, tubs, and toilets. MSD treats more than 170 million gallons of wastewater every day. Water quality treatment centers ensure that the water meets or exceeds regulatory standards before it's released back into local streams and the Ohio River. Next up, stormwater management. What happens when we get heavy rains or after it snows? All of that water has to go somewhere. MSD makes sure the runoff flows into drainage channels to underground pipes that transport water away from homes and businesses and into area creeks, streams, and the Ohio River. Now let's talk about flood protection. MSD flood protection infrastructure includes 29 miles of flood wall, 16 pumping stations, 150 floodgates, and 80 flood wall closures. It all works together, keeping the community safe when river waters rise. MSD also closely monitors water quality within the system to make sure pollutants don't contaminate our waterways. Plus, the innovative technology and engineering of MSD's waterway protection tunnel and underground storage basins further protect our community from dangerous overflows and pollution. There's more to MSD than you imagined, right? MSD is dedicated to our community's health, a cleaner environment, and a better quality of life for all area residents, today, tomorrow, and for years to come.
So as you can see, MSD has a big job to do to protect the health and safety of our community. So the most constant of those jobs is wastewater management. So this is the 8th virtual community meeting in our ongoing series to educate our customers on the naturally occurring odors we smell around the city and what we can do to help mitigate those naturally occurring odors. If you have joined us in any of the past community meetings, you're aware of the issues MSD has to address with objectionable odors for Morris Forman Water Quality Treatment Center and its collection system. For the past 2 years, staff has been working with local consultants to develop an odor control master plan for the Morris Forman treatment plant and its collection system. Tonight, we are going to discuss the recommendations from that master plan. So we worked hard to make sure you have the opportunity to participate during our live stream. So at any time, if you have a question, you can ask it by emailing it to odor@louisvillemsd.org. You can also enter your question via the chat option on the YouTube feed. We have a team of folks that are actively monitoring these feeds, and we will try to provide an answer to your question before the meeting ends. So just a reminder, as we talk about the master report, we specifically are addressing the Morris-Forman plant and its collection system, which you can see here shaded in the darker green. In the near future, MSD will be systematically reviewing all the regional water quality treatment centers to develop specific recommendations there, as well as address odor issues. So the Morris-Forman Water Quality Treatment Center Odor Control Master Plan, including its collection system, is based on a set of 9 technical memorandum completed with the aid of a local consulting firm over the past 2 years. So the master plan's document was finalized in December of 2022 and is posted to the Clarity webpage on the MSD website. The master plan provided 4 recommendations pertaining directly to the Morris-Forman treatment plant, 2 recommendations for the Morris-Forman collection system, and recommendations at 5 of the pump stations located in the Morris-Forman collection system. So I'm now going to turn it over to Robin to discuss findings and recommendations for the Morris-Forman treatment plant.
Thanks, Damon. Most odor sources from the Morris-Forman plant are from outside structures that provide conveyance for the wastewater. Any odor present from the wastewater will lessen in intensity as it flows through the process and is cleaned. Because of this, we do have odor control devices installed on some of the outside structures that are part of the early treatment process. When the wastewater is near the end of the treatment process, any offensive odors are gone, and you're generally left with what can be described as an earthy odor. In the aerial photo of Morris-Forman treatment facility, the yellow highlighted structures are open to the atmosphere. These open structures highlighted on the right side of your screen are near the beginning of the treatment process. And those structures you see with the hatch lines capture foul air and send it to the biological odor control device, or BOC for short, for treatment before being exhausted to the atmosphere. And here you see this is a picture of the odor control device, what we call the BOC. We also have odor sources from equipment located inside of buildings that are also contained and treated. Air from the equipment in the orange shaded box is sent to the solids handling odor control device, or the SHOC for short, and treated. Specifically, this is the equipment used to make our Louisville green fertilizer. And here's a picture of the SHOC odor control device. So when we talk about odor at a treatment plant, and when someone is complaining about an odor, what are they really smelling? Generally, most people are detecting hydrogen sulfide and reduced sulfur compounds. These have a very low odor threshold, meaning someone can smell them at a very low concentration. One of the tasks performed with the master plan was to do sampling for hydrogen sulfide and reduced sulfur compounds to help create an odor profile from the treatment facility. Table 3-1 in the master plan lists all of the odor sources at Morris-Forman and the Southwestern Pump Station where testing could have taken place. During the master plan creation, 2 plant processes were undergoing major construction, and as a result, we could not sample all of the locations we had originally planned. When all the odor sampling was complete, the data was used to create a dispersion model of the plant. A dispersion model uses mathematical formulas to predict odor concentrations at a downwind source within a 1.83 mile radius of the Morris-Forman facility. Dispersion model is a very detailed science. The master plan document gives a detailed explanation of how the model was put together if you're interested. Tables 6-1 and 6-4 in the master plan document shows the point source sampling locations. These values are the input for the dispersion model. The dispersion model creates an isoplet map. It graphically represents the concentration of odor at specific time frequencies around the Morse-Forman facility. For our analysis, we used the Institute of Air Quality Management guidance that a detected odor concentration of less than 2% of the year are not significant, and MSD's odor concentration threshold is 20 odor units. So how do we interpret the map? The lightest green shading represents the rare occurrence of detecting an odor from the Morse-Forman plant about 0.2% of the time during a calendar year. As you see the green shading intensify, the odor can become more frequent, with most of the frequencies within the property boundary of the Morse-Forman plant. Table 6.3 in the master plan report shows the highest odor concentration from specific sources at the Morse-Forman plant. You will notice the top contributor is an open structure, the primary treatment basins, and the next two highest are the BOC and the SHOC. Table 6-6 in the master plan is a new isoplet graph that shows the odor frequency if odor controls are installed on the primary treatment basins. This model is predicting a 98% reduction in the odor concentration at the receptors. Okay, so that was a lot of background information to present, but it was important to help you understand the basis of the recommendations in the master plan report. Based off everything we just discussed, the master plan report has presented 4 recommendations to help mitigate off-site odors. So recommendation number 1 is to add a multimedia carbon unit at the SHOC to reduce odor emissions. With the addition of a multimedia carbon unit on the exhaust of the SHOC, we should be able to mitigate odors from that device. This recommendation was something we were already planning to do in an upcoming construction project starting this fall. The second recommendation from the master plan concerns the other odor control device, the biological odor control unit, or the BOC. A multimedia carbon unit is also recommended to be installed. There is a current project under construction in this section of the plant. There are more sources of odor that are being captured in the primary treatment, which you see represented with the blue hashed lines. Because of process changes, the odor control device could not be sampled. So the master plan report used sampling data for the BOC from 2012. And it is our opinion this data set is not representative of the current conditions, and the dispersion model is overestimating the odor concentrations from the BOC. Therefore, when the current construction project is complete, we will do performance testing on the odor control device and rerun the model to see if we did realize the predicted 98% reduction from the primary treatment basins and determine if the BOC is still a major contributor of odor. If it is, then the multimedia carbon unit will be the next step. The third recommendation from the master plan report concerns the dissolved air flotation and main equipment building exhaust fans. It is recommended to install a biotrickling filter to capture the exhausted air. For this action, we are going to finish the construction projects on the BOC and the SHOC. Then with additional testing, look at the model results again and determine how significant these two areas are to off-site odors. If the testing shows the odor concentrations are significant to the surrounding community, then the biotrickling filter installation would help mitigate these odors. Recommendation number 4 from the master plan report reports recommends a biotrickling filter and covers be installed on the open channels in the east and west headworks to reduce odors. So the east and west headworks are located in the part of the plant that is currently undergoing construction and has already incorporated additional odor control. The current model prediction for this area of the plant is a 98% reduction in odor. So once we do the performance testing on the odor control device, we can determine if the east and west headworks are a significant source to any off-site odors. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Damon to discuss the findings and recommendations from the Morris-Forman collection system.
Thank you, Robin. So we have talked a lot about the Morris-Forman plant. The master plan report also looked at the collection system for Morris-Forman. So the collection system for Morris-Forman provides service to over 60% of the population in Jefferson County. That contains approximately 134 square miles and conveys wastewater to the Morris-Forman plant through 1,910 miles of underground pipes with the aid of 139 pump stations and 2 force mains. So when determining what locations within the collection system to evaluate, we looked back at odor complaints and tried to correlate sampling efforts with the highest density of odor complaints, as you can see from this map. So 12 locations were chosen for liquid and vapor sampling. We sampled inside the sewer system at manhole and catch basin locations. When we reviewed the sampling data from the liquid phase, it was noted that higher BOD and low pH are contributing factors to odor formation within the collection system. We did see this in specific sampling data on the sewer lines for major industrial contributors. The results from the sampling gave us 2 recommendations. Recommendation number 1 is a force main pilot study, and recommendation number 2 is a study on the western outfall. So what is a force main? So a force main conveys wastewater under pressure from the discharge side of a pump. So force mains are used when topography doesn't support gravity sewers. MSD currently adds chemical into the force mains to help prevent corrosion and reduce hydrogen sulfide. The master plan is recommending alternative chemicals to see if any perform better than what is currently being used. We are currently doing an evaluation to determine the best chemicals for the pilot study. So where's the western outfall located? So the western outfall is the 8-foot diameter sewer that runs along West Broadway. So pressure readings on the western outfall found some positive pressure areas. This can result in odor escaping the collection system. It is recommended a pilot study be done to test a negative pressure unit to alleviate the positive pressure in that system. This technology is not commonly utilized in the United States, and MSD is performing additional research at this time. So MSD will continue working to identify and closing openings within systems such as catch basins, work that I will outline later in this presentation. So I think I mentioned before, there are 137 pump stations within the collection system for the Morris-Forman Water Quality Treatment Center. So we selected 8 pump stations based on proximity to odor complaint hotspots and performed liquid and vapor sampling. Evaluation from the sampling results have provided recommendations for improvements at 5 pump stations within the Morris-Forman collection system. So new odor control devices were recommended at 5 pump stations. We are currently evaluating the different technologies, confirming layouts at the pump stations, and getting price quotes. Once selections are made, staff will make a recommendation to our capital improvement team for project funding. So not a part of the master plan report, but something we are actively working on are catch basin modifications throughout the Morris-Forman collection system. As you can see in the map and tables, we are inspecting all catch basins in the identified West Louisville neighborhoods. Our goal with engineering is to get the inspections completed, as many as we possibly can, by June 30th, 2023. So if you remember back from previous clarity meetings, in the summer of 2022, repairs were made to 12 catch basins in the Park Duval neighborhood. We have completed inspections in the California neighborhood and have identified 71 catch basins for repair. This work is scheduled to be completed this calendar year. So again, as you can see on this map, we will continue with inspections in other parts of the collection system and acquire funding with a target date of completion by the end of 2024. So as you can see from this map, we will add Russell, Parkland, and Taylorberry neighborhoods. So remember, we are in this together. And if you can, please take our survey. So we want to hear from you. On the screen is the link. It will also be available on the odor page at louisvillemsd.org and in our YouTube chat. So we want to thank you again for your time this evening to listen to the updates from the Odor Control Master Plan and the Clarity Program. And if you have questions and you have not already entered into the chat or sent us an email, please take the opportunity to do that now.
Harold, I think you're still
You're
muted.
muted, Harold.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I got you.
Okay, excellent. Okay, I'm Harold Adams. I'm the communications manager at MSD. And as Damon said, if you have questions, please put them in the chat, or you can, in fact, email them to odor@louisvillemsd.org, and we'll see them. At the moment, we have one question waiting from Keisha Dorsey, and we would very much we are thankful for that participation. And a question is, until these recommendations get put into place, will we in fact continue, or will we add water to the catch basins during the dry periods?
Yes, we will, before we even get to the summer, as we've done in previous presentations that I've done, and we've put together maps, as you saw also from early part of our presentation, those odor hotspot areas that we have designated as areas that, to try and be proactive, we will look at that. Again, in previous presentations, looking at past years, a lot is weather dependent. So we will be proactive in areas that we know are prone to odors. But again, we always ask, we use the Smell My City app. And on our odor page, you can report odors. You can call customer service to report those odors. And what we do is put work orders in to get out there to clean, inspect, and deodorize and flush the catch basins if needed.
Okay, as we wait for more questions, just building on what Damon just said, we can't be everywhere at once and know, for instance, where you might be experiencing smells. So please do reach out to us via customer service, or email us at odor@louisvillemsd.org anytime that you experience a smell. We definitely need to take care of these problems, and we want to address them. So at the moment, we don't have any additional questions either via email or in the chat. We'll stand by to take those.
And while we're waiting on maybe a few more questions, to go back again and expand on the Park Duval, with this past summer, which was an extremely, it was an extreme anomaly of a dry season where we experienced, I think it was 60+ days of no rain. So our goal too is, as we start to approach the spring and warm summer times, to get back into Park Duval and evaluate to make sure those repairs are working. And determine if we need to expand and get back in there and look at any other catch basins to see if any other work is needed. Same thing with, again, California neighborhood, those 71, they've all been documented as, we're putting a project together in terms of getting funding and we'll put those out to bid. And again, that goal is to have those 71 repaired by the end of this year. And again, after you do a repair, our job is not to just do the repair and walk away. It's to do the repair and then monitor the areas. And we monitor those by me and Robin weekly, or looking at if we're getting any odor complaints, and looking in areas, and we compare them to areas that we've mitigated. Another example I'll keep on with is up around 7th Street and Central. There were some odors that were coming in from a industrial source, and we went out and inspected those, and currently we've got 2 catch basins that are in the process of being repaired, and we're hoping once those are repaired that will take care. I don't know the exact damage that was to them, whether they were just missing the traps, or if they were completely damaged and had to be replaced. But once those repairs are made, again, we'll, as we always do, is spend time evaluating and watching to see if we get any odor complaints in that area.
Okay, so now we have a request to put the survey link into the chat. Right now I'm experiencing technical difficulties, so I can't do it, but we have some other folks working behind the scenes who hopefully will be able to accomplish that. Meanwhile, I'll simply read out that address to you. It is surveymonkey.com/R, just the letter R, /MSD clarity. Again, we're working to get that put into the chat because I know, but I'll go ahead and repeat that again. The address for the survey is surveymonkey.com/R/MSD clarity.
Robin, can you go back 3 slides to put it back up on the screen? Here we go.
There it is. It's on the screen there.
Yeah, it's also available at the MSD website on the Clarity page. There's a direct link there as well.
That is correct. And at the moment, there are no further questions in the queue. So there's still an opportunity, Robin and Damon, if you want to elaborate on any further points before, as we give a few more minutes for people to join with any questions they may have.
No, I guess, you can't repeat it enough. As you said, Harold, is to, you can call customer service, and that's real time. Again, we're 24/7 operations. I think we've also, customer service routes those, depending on where the odor is, and we determine what the MSD asset is. Those odor complaints are directed to the proper folks. I mean, if it's a chemical odor, it potentially will go to our industrial waste department. If it's a catch basin odor, it can go to our crews at CMF to go out and flush, clean, and deodorize those areas. If it's an odor that, is someone attributes around more as Forman, especially say after hours, we have supervisors there that will then go out and do odor surveys. We will do an odor survey of the plant, document if we're experiencing any odors at the plants, and then go out to, if the person that calls in the complaint leaves an address or contact information, we follow up, we check that area again, so that's what we're working towards, is to minimize and mitigate these areas and repairs, and again, go back to the California neighborhood, even Park Duval. Some of the things we've talked about in past meetings is some of the things that can be holdups on some of these repairs are supply chain issues, which we're all experiencing. Also, the cost. 10 years ago, it may have only cost $5,000 or so to repair a catch basin. And now with the Park Duval, we experience, some catch basins in the range of up to $20,000 to repair them. So again, you look at 71, and I'm sure the numbers that I had up on the screen for California and Shawnee that we're going through, you can probably assume, again, being some of these sewers are Civil War era sewers, Western Outfall, Broadway. You think about Broadway, it's a three-line brick sewer made by hand. We're going through, I think last summer, this year we'll do it again, but last summer during shutdown of a major industry, we got in there and did some repairs. We look at plumbing service connections to also make sure we're not having any issues from homes into it. And we're going through lining and making sure we shore up that western outfall so we don't have any sewer collapses such as the ones that were experienced up around eastern part of Broadway. And so that's each one of those catch basins in California neighborhood, like I said, have been assessed, and it will take time to repair each one. And as we're just
so we've been asking people, Damon, we've been asking people to fill out the survey, but apparently we have a viewer here who has attempted to do that, and they're getting a response that says that it is closed and instructing her to in fact contact Robin. We'll investigate that.
Yes.
And either fix that tomorrow. If it in fact is closed, then we will put information up to reflect that. But we're still, regardless of whether that is in fact closed, we want to know when you experience odors. Let's see, we've got. Well, I thought I saw a question coming in via the email, but that is not the case. There are still.
And we also monitor. Another thing is for people that have been diligent about reporting. Me and Robin get direct emails from the Smell My City app, and I can say this past summer and are going in early fall when we experienced the large volume of odor complaints. Robin and I would use those emails to, one, we get a kind of geographical location. We're able to look at what assets are around, and we've been able to create customer service request numbers, submit those to customer service to put in requests to direct those to the right area. So we also just don't rely on that. We use that one too, especially, and then those that are reoccurring complaints in the same areas, we'll go back out. Again, you have to be patient with us that, if we get out there and clean it, depends on the rotation, or depends on when you call back in again in terms of documentation, if we'll get back out there to clean it. Because you got to remember too, with the hydrogen sulfide smell, the rotten egg smells, we refer to it as once it's a low odor threshold, Robin mentioned in the presentation. So once it kind of gets in the air, even if you clean a catch basin, it still take time for that odor to move out of the area. It's not always just immediately as they clean the catch basin and deodorize it. And another thing I talked about in previous meetings is especially in your homes, that restroom, that sink that you don't use on a regular, run water through it, especially when we hit the dry season. Run water through it. You can run. For me personally, I'll just say what I do is I lived in Park Duval for 21 years. I would run a little baking soda, or I'd put a little bleach down in there to knock down the odors. So it's especially during the summer months.
So let me get back to the survey question again. If there are people who really are interested in doing the survey, and we hope that you are, please send us a message via email to the odor@louisvillemsd.org, and then we can make it so that you can, in fact, complete the survey.
Yeah, I do apologize if it's not working. We had survey responses on Monday, so I would encourage to go to the MSD webpage and use the direct link on the Clarity webpage and see if that one happens to work better.
And right, and
try back
again, in case
tomorrow.
that doesn't,
It'll be fixed tomorrow.
Right. In case that doesn't, again, you can send a request via email to odor@louisvillemsd.org. We still have no further questions in the chat or in email, and I think we've thoroughly covered the update here. I think at this point it would be appropriate to call it an evening.
Yeah, and what one thing we may not have said at the beginning is that, again, as we did last year, these will be quarterly, to bring you updates on different parts as we start into phase 2, which will go out into the other areas of MSD's collection systems and water quality treatment center service areas. And also as we have those updates on repairs that have been done, be it in the California neighborhood or the inspections when they're complete in Shawnee and Chickasaw neighborhood. And when we start to move on to Russell, Parkland, and Taylor Berry, we'll constantly have these meetings quarterly to bring you updates and to listen to whatever questions or concerns you have. But again, for those that have tuned in, we appreciate your time and patience with us, and do understand that this is a priority for MSD. And we hope you have a good evening.
Again, thank you, everyone.